And hi guys, and welcome to GG Reviews and to this video and reaction of basically the amazing powers of the Emperor. I'm here with Goldie because he really wanted to be in this reaction and review and analysis of this awesome video, guys. So as always, this is the second video actually that I'm covering. Uh, just wait a second, because I don't want Goldie to eat one of my lights. That's gonna be amazing. So please guys, this is absolutely such an amazing video that we are going to watch and cover right now, the absurd powers of the God Emperor of Mankind. And I posted it down below the link so you can watch it into its fullest extent the way that is meant to be seen. So please go and check webcam parrot, like I said, the second video that I'm covering from him, and it's absolutely awesome what he did. So definitely go and watch it. I'm going to cover now the video. I don't know how much time that's gonna take because it's a pretty long video, so maybe I'm gonna need to do a part 2, but nevertheless, this hopefully is gonna be very fun and you're going to hopefully enjoy my commentary on the God Emperor of Mankind's powers. And Goldie, 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 and Goldie just no, don't eat my makeup, please. Okay. He's always eats my lipstick for some reason. Okay guys, so let's see it because it's very long, so let's start it. And hi to everybody in the chat. Optic, Dark, dear Ivy, dear Clayton, Alex, 30. I'm gonna put Goldie down. Come on, Goldie. Goldie. Come on, Goldie. Okay. It is a fluffy Pomeranian, yes. Okay, let's play it.
Howdy, it's webcamparrot here to talk about the God Emperor of Mankind from all different types of sources. I'll be going over every single one of his abilities and notable feats, drawn from over 45 different sources.
Sorry, I wanted to go down.
Scientific genius, the God Emperor of Mankind has been confirmed to be the strongest human of all time, and first and greatest of all human psykers.
Yes.
And as such, should have access to every regular psyker ability available to humans, if not on a far higher level, or should at least be able to produce something similar. Even after being betrayed and reduced to nothing but a barely alive corpse, the Emperor is still the strongest power in the Imperium,
yes,
and lost nothing of his strength, maybe even growing in strength, thanks to the religion that formed around him. Which presents us with an immense scope of power, and so I'll try to go over as many of these psyker abilities as I can from various rulebooks. For instance, an ability called Terrifying Visions, which fills his enemies' minds with nightmarish images and visions of torment which can cause them to flee in terror.
That is
or
horrible.
Misfortune, a power that takes hold of fate itself, allowing the Emperor and his allies to automatically strike at the weakest points in their enemy's armor. Enfeeble and Life Leech would allow him to coat his victims in warp energy, sucking their very life force and soul out of their bodies to heal himself or his allies.
Wow, that is gaming one-on-one, you know, sucking someone's life so we can heal. Actually, Space Marine comes to mind. It's exactly what you're doing to the orcs.
Fiery Form transforms him into an incandescent being of living warp fire, preventing physical attacks from touching him at all, instead passing through him harmlessly, and also making all of his fire-based attacks much stronger as a result. Spectral Blade, a Raven Guard special, is particularly strange, as instead of directly improving the psyker's own strength, it instead implants a suggestion of having an irresistibly sharp blade into their opponent's heads, effectively turning their own soul and belief energy against them.
That is horrible. I mean, it's great for the Emperor, you know.
Making the blade actually irresistibly sharp to them, bypassing their physical and spiritual durability entirely.
Wow, well, it's like, no matter what protection you have, you're gonna be pierced by this. It doesn't matter, I'm bypassing every possible precaution, security measure, so to speak, armor, whatever nature of, you know, of a protection that you may have. I'm bypassing it. You're watching Gears Far Cry video, looks very cool. Yeah. Driving Fiat? Yes. Polish Fiat.
Rack and Ruin allows the caster to see and exploit every fault or fracture within a structure and attack it perfectly to bring it to the ground, which isn't very impressive, but when combined with Fortify, an ability that requires the caster to envision his allies as fortifications in order to heal them, it could be used to literally manifest, create, and then exploit weaknesses within your opponent. Definitely something that the Emperor should be capable of. Like, imagine you are fighting the Emperor and he just imagines that you have a broken, weakened leg, and so you actually do. And then thousands of psychic attacks rain down exactly where your leg is at its most weak simultaneously. That's just something that he can do whenever he decides to think about it.
That is so scary. So scary. Why then he didn't use some of that on Horus in the first place? He can imagine he is so weak and not be able to fight, or just his back is hurting so bad he cannot move. He has a hernia or something, you know. But we see a lot of this in different IPs. You have that, I mean, that, this, whatever set of powers, and when it comes to actually using the powers, the writers don't know how to write it, and they're like, oh, but actually, this is how the enemy is gonna prevail. And it doesn't make sense because we have all of those powers, but they're never mentioned. I mean, that is seen in a lot of other things. Examples: the CW universe, Supergirl, Flash. I mean, whoever really. Their power just doesn't mean anything because there's always someone that can beat them, and it's very easy. And they just hand their asses to them. That is just the most drastic example ever because that is a really bad case of ignoring actual powers, abilities, and even hero level. But here here the emperor has so many powers that it's absolutely impossible to track, I don't think. So how to go about it with that horror story then? Anyway, continuing, that's another topic on itself.
Additionally, a basic ability, known simply as Force, is set to transform a weapon from a normal one into one that can bend reality. Psychic
Okay.
Shackles invades the mind of the Psyker's opponent and crushes their will to fight, forcing them to abandon it. Or Blood Boil, which causes the target's lifeblood to churn into a seething frenzy, eventually bursting from their veins and pores explosively.
Wow.
Gate of Infinity punches a corridor through the warp, allowing the Psyker to cross great distances in the blink of an eye. And Vortex of Doom, a similar ability that instead creates a hole directly into the warp, sucking anything nearby in, condemning them to total oblivion.
Oh, imagine playing Ratchet and Clank, with a very fast SSD drive M2, like the PlayStation 5 marketed the game, and you're getting to through different dimensions. They're not actually dimensions, they're almost like pre-rendered places that it's like basically watching a video. It's not actually going through a whole entire level of the game. But imagine that if that was possible in a game, how that amazing, how that's gonna look. A bit, that's the closest thing that I can think of that I've seen with my eyes how that would look, and it's amazing. But yeah, what do you think about this so far? He is Zinch? Well, no. Ha! He teaches Zinch to play Magong. I'm not sure what is that. Horus had immunity due to chaos. Ah, well, immunity. That's a huge immunity. Yeah. Although he also mentions that the emperor can bypass anything, so they even have immunity against the bypass. Think that every enemy breaks neck in battle one. Yeah, exactly, Mr. D. He probably would take on one the Maximus, one of the most, a one-on-one, and probably would survive. Yeah, I mean, she has chaos energy, but judging by what we heard so far, she's not even close to a match to the Emperor. So there's that. Biggie and Beosaurus for kids. Gate of Infinity, Caldo Drago? Yeah, I mean, he should have. I mean, he should be able to
Ghostly
do
Bonds
something like
is
that.
an ability that directly manipulates the connections between the material world and immaterium, manipulating space itself, giving it bulges and wrinkles that make it harder to traverse. Purge Soul can cleanse its target of all vestiges of whatever the caster considers to be evil, which, in like the mechanics of the game, is basically just a battle of willpower that kills you. So I guess the way it works is just that the Grey Knight or whoever is using this ability just thinks that anything trying to fight him at all is automatically evil, which I think is pretty funny.
Yeah, that's really funny. I know Wanda is the best. I actually so love her. If I have to pick one female character out of all Marvel, I would say probably Wanda, then Black Widow. I think, and I love the show. That's totally different topic, but yeah, there's a lot to think about with the show. I will totally totally lose topic if I start thinking about Wanda. So let's continue.
Dark Excommunication severs a demon's connection to its master, effectively removing any special powers that someone may have been gifted by a demon or anything like that.
Yeah, so basically, when Horus was immune by chaos, how is this not helping to remove that immunity? And even that is from a Grey Knight. Imagine what the Emperor can do.
And is effectively a counter to almost any psyker ability, provided you are strong enough and the Emperor is plenty strong. Compel is a mind control ability that forces its target to do whatever the user wants them to do, even taking their own life if the psyker is strong enough. Delude clouds its victim's perception, tricking them into believing the psyker is someone to be trusted implicitly, amongst other effects. The infamous and terrifying psychic scream is a wave of unleashed psychic force that resonates in the target's mind, causing great pain or even tearing the victim's soul directly out of their body, a cry that is felt rather than heard.
Yeah.
Psychic stench literally makes something obnoxiously and extremely stinky for up to 10 days, and it's just like whatever you personally think smells the
That
worst,
sucks.
which I think is a pretty horrible thing to do to someone if you just use it on their hair or something.
Yeah.
It even works on things that have an impaired sense of smell or never had a sense of smell at all.
Oh my gosh.
Chameleon, as the name suggests, can allow you to camouflage and blend into the surrounding environment, making you harder to spot, and Deja Vu can implant a memory loop into the target's mind, forcing them to repeat whatever they were just doing, like diving for cover from the same grenade that just exploded, or shooting into thin air at a location where a target was previously.
Well, that is amazing thing to do to Horus once again in their battle. And the other one was pretty funny, camouflaging himself. Imagine Biggie trying to hide with that huge armor. It's just funny to imagine. I'm glad that you agree with her being strongest Avenger, but don't forget that Big E tricked Chaos Gods to get power boosts, so it is fighting Chaos by Chaos. Yeah, but there's totally different Chaos magic, so it's not. Her magic has nothing to do with Warhammer Chaos magic, so there's that. It's very hard to compare universes because how their powers work is different, principles of the power is different, powers that be are totally different. You can just measure by some kind of a logic that if the emperor can do this and one that can do that, then it sounds that the emperor is gonna win, like for sure. And he lived thousands upon thousands of years, so he's much more master of his own body and powers, where Wanda is very, well, not very these days, but she is a lot more angry and impulsive, and that could be sometimes in her favor, but it's totally depending on the situation. So she could be very, very pissed off and angry, but that doesn't mean that she cannot be stopped at all. I just can't wait to see how strong actually she will get because that is now in the future, and it's super fascinating to watch. But in any case, no matter how strong she gets, she's not god level. At least not when it comes to comparison with the Emperor. So definitely she wins. I mean, he wins. I just don't see how she could win. So, well, yeah, there's that. There's that. She could totally kick everyone else's ass, pretty much, but that's once again a different topic. If he met her in 2000, he would manage to grow that big. He wouldn't. I just don't see how the Emperor cannot win. I mean, how many scenarios there are in which he can lose to Wanda? I mean, I just don't see what she can do that he cannot block, revert. Um, she. I mean, he can basically just pretend that she's dead and in his mind, and she would be dead right there and there. Not even have to fight or take out his sword, or why does he need a sword then? It kind of begs the question, why would he even need a sword?
Distort vision makes you appear to be standing 10 meters away from where you really are, effectively making you completely invisible even to sensory equipment. Forget Me literally erases all memories the target has of you, and they won't be able to create any new ones whilst it is active either. Knack and Lucky effectively just make you better at anything you want, or simply lucky enough to succeed at that, presenting another type of fate manipulation. Another ability, Precognition, is pretty intuitively named, and allows the user to peer into the future to see what...
You're in denial. Sorry, Mr. D, but I'm trying to be objective here. Like for instance, I totally love Superman. He is my favorite superhero, like number one superhero, and I love Xena. I love Xena more than I love any fictional character actually. But if you say, well, who's gonna win, Superman or Xena? I'm gonna say, if she has time to prepare. You know, if she if she has time to prepare, just like Batman, because she's basically like Batman in so many ways. She's perfection in martial arts and knowledge of any kind, pressure points, tactics, detective. So many things that are similar to Batman. And the only way she can beat Superman is with a lot of prep. But she can. She only needs basically one knife that is magical. The power of the gods, or power to kill gods, which she did had. Even power of Lauma, that's basically inner power that she creates by concentrating in the right ways. And the techniques of Lauma, and she can imagine a whole army being rock, so she can imagine Superman as a rock, but still Superman, if it's like one on one, she is totally dead. So trying to be completely objective here, if there is prep time, Xena can win because she killed the whole pantheon of gods anyway, except two, because they're Aphrodite and Ares. So they had to be spared. They didn't. They were not against her in that way, so they naturally dodged the killings. So she can totally kill Superman, but uh, and he's vulnerable to magic. She can take anything that's magic and kill him, basically. I can say that, but if they're like 1-1, he just has to sneeze and she's dead. So yeah, no matter how much I love Xena, it doesn't matter to objectivity. So yeah, there's that. Oh, hi to you, Nishe. Uh, and yeah, if she can find kryptonite, but I'm talking in the context of her universe, she can just use any magical weapon and he's done. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He is vulnerable to magic, so there's that. Superman ever sneeze? Yeah, that's just technicality, okay? He can do this, and she's gonna fly a few kilometers and just hit a rock or just fall, and that's gonna be it. Like, okay, another topic.
will happen
Another topic.
next. and in the hands of someone like the Emperor, it can span galaxies and millennia with precision.
That's amazing about precognition. Why didn't he see that he's gonna freaking die? I mean, you know what I mean. He's gonna be on the golden throne. Chaos is going to try to consume the universe, and he's gonna be a corpse. Why he didn't see that? Unless you say, okay, that was his plan, which I totally get, but we have no idea about that yet. It seems that he has a very tough time getting back to being alive again, and he needs Rebute Gilliman to do this right now. And he did need to interfere and Rebute's plan, not only plan, actually, I'm not sure about the plan, but there was this, that priest Matthew. If you haven't read the last book of the Dark Imperium, I already did a review of that. It's great. It's pretty freaking awesome for the most part. It's one of the best Warhammer books that I ever read, listened to in an audio form. So, I mean, by that book, if you judge by that story, it seems that the Emperor didn't know what's gonna happen, and now he's struggling to get back, and he needs his avenging son because otherwise he's not coming back. That is how this looks like. Goldie! 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 Okay. uh, I mean, the theories are that he knew everything and that this is all planned, but at least for now, it doesn't seem that way. I'm open to whatever truth it comes out eventually when GW decides the story, how it's actually gonna continue, how it's gonna be revealed what's going on. But for now, it just seems that he really did not know and his ego failed him. That's how it looks like. It's even explicitly mentioned in some of the books that the Emperor failed, his plan failed. Actually, in that last book, the first book of the Dark Imperium, that is exactly what is said in the beginning. That Tribute Gilliman is trying to, you know, actually inform the Imperium, educate the Imperium that chaos, warp, the warp is real, all of that, and he met some difficulties because the Inquisition was opposed to that, and the Emperor's truth was not a lie, and then it was mentioned how the Emperor's plan totally failed. So, um, a lot of, evidences that the Emperor really did fail, and it was not his plan to fail. Once again, we'll see about that, guys. I'm not saying it's the written in stone truth. I'm saying that that's how the evidence look like, point to so far. Okay, let's see what you're saying. Sorry, I will not miss something. He can dodge her attack? Well, he can. He can dodge Xena's attacks, but then again, she has the chakram, and he never seen that in his life, and it's magical. If it's the in the end, chakram is basically magical to a point. She can throw that like behind her back, and Superman's gonna be like, "Whoa! Wow, you're really accurate, Xena." And next thing you know, it gets through here and cuts off his head because it's gonna bounce on things. He's gonna hear that, but I don't know. That's very, very fast weapon. He's extremely fast. I know Superman, like I know the palm of my hand. But Xena, if she's aware of his abilities, she will know how to bypass them, and in some kind of a way, she would just know. But if she doesn't know, like I've said, no prep, she's dead. Of course, of course. She's woman and plus million to plot. What? Xena cannot lose. She's a woman with plus million to plot armor. I don't get that. I have no idea what you mean there. Zinch block Big E. Okay. Ah, he found out about Chaos in a nasty way. Well, I don't know about that yet. Yeah. And let's say that Xena has a weapon that can just blast Superman, like a fiery staff or something, and he doesn't expect it. A lot of things that she can do still. A lot of things. Okay.
Resist possession, of course, resists possession from things like ghosts, but also warp demons or anything of the sort, making it effectively outerversal protection from possession, as many of these abilities already are. Trick is an example of probability manipulation, making unfavorable odds better for you and already good odds practically guaranteed. White noise protects against psyker or technological detection, or scrying, also implying that these are the kinds of abilities that psykers like the Emperor can use. And all of those I just talked about are considered,
Well, all of these can be used again against Horus and that fight with him. Just make the odds better for the Emperor. Just make whatever he was doing, Horus, so bad and so unlucky. But I guess that didn't happen.
minor powers.
Beta yells
Specific
you.
schools like Biomancy present special.
Oh, I get it, Mr. D. I get it. Plot armor. You mean a plot device? A plot device. Well, remember something. Uh, Xena did lose, and a lot of times. Remember that Xena was made in the times of myths and legends, where, well, that is like Hercules' intro started. I mean, the show is made in the times where there was no SJW things, and she was treated just as brutally as any man. She was treated equally as any male character to the highest degree. And there was no SJW things. It was nothing like, oh, she's a woman, so she must survive, or she should not get her ass kicked. Oh no, 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 no. When she was beaten for some reason, like for instance, there was one time when she basically put herself in a situation where a sultan had to beat her to death, and she could get out of this, uh, in all kinds of ways, but she didn't. She went through it to save Gabrielle, because Gabrielle basically pooped the bed and ruined the current stage of Xena's mission. Is a long story, but it's a very fascinating episode, extremely intelligent, and the point is that she got herself brutally beaten with one eye being this big, and her whole body was blood, bruises, and she was crawling on the floor and trembling for days. That was going on for days. So there's just no such thing as treating her any different than any male character. That was before, and this is now. And now, if they make Xena, they're totally going to ruin everything about her. So better not do that, please. I would love to see Xena return, but that's gonna be completely travesty and a spit on already brilliant show. No matter how old it is, it had values, it had moral, well, yeah, moral values, but it had wisdom, something that I cannot point to a lot of shows that had wisdom, any if at all, but Xena had in spades, and they hold up. All those things hold up. Special effects do not hold up, but most of the show does, and especially what really matters, which is substance, characters, dialogue. Everything is amazing. That's not a Xena show right now. Sorry, I can't stop talking about Xena when I start. But I know what you mean, plot armor. But yeah, Xena does not have really a plot armor. I cannot think of a time when she did. I can't really. I mean, let's say she couldn't catch an arrow in the first season. She was pierced by that arrow pretty brutally, almost died. Yeah, had to pull her own arrow out. Yeah, put the Jesus. It's just in front of my eyes, guys. Sorry. A hot steel in her stomach so she can cuddle the wounded. Yes. Okay, never mind. So, these stupid plot devices are something that is more prevalent these days than it was before. And I can totally testify to this because I watched every episode of Xena so many times that I have no idea actually how many times, but it's a lot. Uh, well, Beta, so you're at home? That's great. Oh, you hated this episode? You had a crush on Xena or Gabrielle? Secret of her plot armor is in the title of the show. Xena Warrior Princess? Xena Warrior Princess? I don't get it. I don't get it. What do you mean that she's a warrior princess? That's a title. I don't really. Gabrielle. Oh. Yeah, she is important as Xena. Well, you can say that to a point. Jesus, this becomes a Xena Warrior Princess show. Sorry, guys. I'm stopping. I'm stopping. Uh, no Xena the show. It's very hard to, you know, connect what you're saying this way with that comments. In the title of the show. Okay. But yeah, Gabrielle is important because she was the compass of Xena, the balance of Xena. If Gabrielle wasn't there, Xena would have killed a lot more people than she did. And Gabrielle also taught Xena how to control herself and just compose herself and do a bit more calculated, wise decisions, just more composed in general, and to not revert to her evil self. So, in that kind of a way, Xena will not be Xena without Gabrielle, but that's kind of the point, that you have to listen to the good voices in your head, not only the bad. So the good voice representative metaphorically is Gabrielle in this case. And well, Xena's nature, although it's not inherently evil, it is uh, pretty decisive and brutal, Compared to her, Hercules is a soft, fluffy muffin. but that's that's so fascinating. But we are continuing with also fascinating the fascinating powers of the Emperor. Yeah, Xena is the main character, of course, but Gabrielle started from the very first episode, and she turned things around for Xena from the very first episode and just showed to Xena that there's another type of living and thinking, and it's not only um, to totally not do anything, not pick up a sword, and in the same time to pick up a sword but do the best you can. And that doesn't mean to kill absolutely everyone, because Xena had a crisis of identity and she didn't want to be a warrior. But all of that just disappeared because Gabriel was about to be totally killed or taken into slavery along with her whole village in the very first minute of the episode. And Xena was just burying her chakram and sword and armor. And she was already faced with this dilemma: do I help, do I not help? But it was obviously a sign from fate that she has to pick up the freaking sword chakram and do what she can because she's the only one on the scene that could do something about it, and therefore redeeming herself, starting to redeem herself for her past deeds. So that was pretty amazing way to start off the show, actually. Okay. I'm starting to totally get into my Xena passion. So continuing.
Realities within psyker powers. Within Biomancy, we have the following: cellular control, an
Oh,
ability that presents an insane control of a psyker's own body, allowing them to transcend the limitations of their physical bodies, making them immune to things like fatigue, vacuums, extreme temperatures, or poisons, and vastly improves their physical ability in practically every area.
that's amazing. I want that cellular English control so I can just make my muscles and I don't have to work out for them. I'm kidding. Or just destroy all the food that I'm eating. Just, you know, uh, put the protein where it's supposed to be, and just fat enough to sustain my hormones, and carbs enough so I can feel like a human and not like a zombie. And then, paraphrasing here, and just never put any fat ever. That's gotta be amazing, and just, yeah, make my muscles the way that I want to want them to. Oh my god. Okay, don't mind me. Um, I mean that Xena couldn't die in the show with her name in the title, but she did die. Did you watch the whole show? She died. She died permanently. Died. I don't want to spoil it, but she permanently died. And before that, she also died. Before that, she also died. I mean, totally different circumstances, reasons for it. It was meaningful. It was amazing. It was different. But she's freaking dead. Dead, very brutally murdered. I mean, killed, not murdered, but very brutally killed. And it was gruesome and brutal. So, no, once again, no. That's not how Xena works as a show, as a story. So yeah, she does not have that plot armor. She gets every brutality basically done on her. So yeah, you don't want to know. or you do. I don't know. If you want to be more fascinated, just rewatch the show from the beginning and you know what I mean. There's a lot more to the show that it meets the eye, and a lot more episodes that if you missed them, you missed a ton of substance and meaning that is not only philosophical, but it's just, well, speaking to the soul, let's say. I mean, it's really that amazing. I gave the show to my dear friend Kirill from Superheroes Bulgaria, and he was absolutely blown away by everything in it. Everything in it. So, yeah, that's what I can say. I'm stopping with Xena. Oh, it's not only fun, but it's just like I've said, meaningful, insightful, deep, philosophical. Ah, it just gives you everything and puts meaning to it. So yeah, it deals with real history and myths and legends. So real history is just Xena integrated in history, but it's so fascinating. You know, when she interacts with Caesar, Cleopatra, it's just so awesome to see. It's amazing. Oh yes, you will not regret it. I mean, you're an intelligent person, Dimi. So if you see it, you're gonna know what I'm talking about. I'm just only going to say this one thing because it's in my head right now. In the first season, there was this amazing scene. I think it was at the end of the episode where Xena and Gabrielle sat down next to a lake, and Xena threw a rock in the lake, and the rock just skipped like on the surface, on the water, just fell down and sank. There were some waves created from the rock, and she was like, "Do you see that lake, Gabrielle?" And Gabriel was like, yes, and that rock. I mean, the context was basically Xena was trying to explain why she's not the same person as she was before. So Xena was like, well, this rock, I mean, this lake now it's forever changed because you don't see on the surface, but the rock is there, is under it. So the lake is forever changed, no matter if you can't see that on the surface. She said something like, you you know when the rock is thrown, you see the waves, it ripples, and all of that, but then it's quiet. It's like the same. I mean, it looks the same as before, but it's not, because that rock is still under there. It's still there. So that's how she explained how she lived through what she lived through and how she is now as a person. It was absolutely amazing. I'm like, this is profound stuff, okay? Especially when you know the story before that, you're just like, ah. And the other compelling thing is that Gabrielle is so young and she is still learning how to live in the world that totally expects her to just be a wife and that's it, and just stay at home and do nothing, be like every other village girl. But Zena is showing her a totally new way to look at things, the world, the depth of the world and of human life. And Gabrielle, through her eyes, also is amazing to witness how she's perceiving that, how she is learning, getting out of her comfort zone, and in the same time feeling the drive to pursue this life along with Xena, and Xena needing that other perspective of the regular person that wants to achieve more and to do good no matter what, because that is just the right thing to do. And the two of them, they're just amazing unit. I never seen anything like this on screen portrayed in any kind of a way, like their relationship is absolutely profound. So this is just one tiny example of the wisdom in Xena and how it's filmed and how it's shown, and just the dialogue is still amazing and the acting is still amazing. So even though there's no like special effects out of this world, for the times it was pretty fun. I mean, I watched it in the 2000s, and most of that was already dated, but for me it wasn't, because, I was a little kid, so for me, I didn't watch Xena for special effects. I watched it for the freaking meaning, so I couldn't wait. I was glued to the screen, and that was, yeah, I mean, still, I'm never been more impressed. Although I've seen so many things since, and I doubt that I will be more impressed by anything else. And every time that you watch an episode, you can learn something more and be even more impressed or with that feeling of, wow, I just realized something else and it's amazing. I can count on my fingers shows or movies that ever touch me this way. It's almost impossible to think of any, at least not to that extent. So yeah, and when something is episodic, it has a lot more time to develop itself and to present the whole story. I have to stop talking about Xena, guys. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's just, it's just amazing. Um. Oh, thank you, thank you, dear Clayton. Yes, I did cut off that scene and put it on YouTube, on my Xena channel, that I have before this channel. That I do a lot of Xena music videos there. That's how I learned to be an editor of videos, just to present the story through music and to think about the topic and just take the shots that I need, knowing all the episodes by heart and particular shots and scenes, so that way I can make these videos the way that I make the Warhammer videos, pretty much. So yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, dear Clayton. You're amazing. You're amazing that you can think of this. Thank you. Continuing.
Constrict is like the classic force choke concept, except that instead of actually being choked by some sort of physical effect, it just commands your body to close its windpipe, and it's forced to obey. Regenerate and seal wounds, also of biological effect, can rapidly repair practically any non-fatal damage, and heal potentially life-threatening wounds. But the Emperor actually has his own version of this ability, and we'll talk about it later, that is considerably stronger than both of these. Shape Flesh presents further ways to push this biological boundary, literally growing wings, natural armor, night vision, claws, or the ability to burrow through the ground, among many other forms. It's described as the point where flesh and will become indistinguishable.
That's amazing,
The
actually.
next school, Divination, is open to powers like Divine Shot, which is described as allowing the user to make near impossible ranged shots by casting your psychic gaze into the warp down the near infinite paths of future potential categories,
Thank you
until
for
you
that
found the
comment.
future that you want, and that once it's done, the
An
attack
honor
cannot be
to my
avoided in
primarch
any
Clayton.
way, as it is destined to occur. And this effect can be applied and replicated in numerous other areas, as seen with a huge number of abilities in this field, like Farsight, Glimpse, Preternatural Awareness, Precognitive Strike, and Dodge. Soulsight offers a look into an individual's history, thoughts, and habits with a mere glance by reading the trace of their aura projected in the Materium. Pyromancy, which I've talked about a little bit already, offers, notably, Incinerate, a power that creates immense heat, not through the production of fire, but instead the agitation of molecules within the body of the target, effectively representing a type of matter manipulation open to psykers that turns the inside of their opponents into molten lava.
Jesus, that's
And the
horrible.
gruesomely named Holocaust, an ability based on the Emperor's far more advanced final strike to Horus that completely annihilates not just the physical body of the target, but also their soul and mind. Even demons projected down into the Materium are killed permanently this way, and there is simply no coming back from this, even with the intervention of powerful, high outerversal entities like the Chaos Gods.
Well, he should have performed that on Horus right away. No, like, no protection that Horus had could have saved him from the Holocaust. Then it didn't, but the Emperor just waited for too 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 long of a period. He should know that when you're possessed in that way, fully controlled by chaos, you can't just snap out of it. I mean, he did eventually, but it was too late. So the only thing to do for the Imperium and for the safety of the Emperor himself, he should have holocausted Horus right there and there, giving him absolutely no chances because he already made his choice. And I mean, consciously, he did. He was manipulated to go in this direction, but he already had all of that in him. It was, seeds the seeds were planted, and he gave in and he went with it. He went with it. He had months to assimilate or change his mind or whatever, but he didn't. He went all the way through it. So I don't think he deserves any redemption or, oh my son, oh my son, oh no my son, no son, no. He's not a doggy. So just incinerate the guy right away. He had enough time, and he has gotten to this point when he is, all of him is chaos incarnate. So just do that right away. But I know there's supposed to be a battle, I understand that. But when you make a character with so many powers that are impossible to remember, you do have the responsibility to do justice to that character. And when you see Horus, to just be like, it is over because we wrote that the Emperor can do this, so it is over, sorry. You can write it very dramatically, like take 20 minutes to explain how the Emperor, he just grew like 10 times in physical size or something. And then he looked at Horus and he was like, my son, you screwed up. You have failed this city. Oh no, sorry, sorry, Arrow, that's your universe. You have failed the Imperium, and now I'm going to do the Holocaust on ya. And BAM! Like, imagine that. It's gonna be very funny. I mean, if you're a good writer, you could write this. And then you have to write that the Emperor is actually not on the Golden Throne, and everything is gonna be totally different. Maybe GW will not sell that many figures. Who knows? Who knows, guys? Who knows? Uh, he loved his sons. Yeah, he should have acted like he did. Hesitated. Well, put Apocalyptus was just a man. Apocalyptus? Who was he? I can honestly, I have no memory of that. Known as the Emperor of Mankind. I never. Oh no, wait. He was called that, but that was like a long time ago, before 40k. Yeah, that was. Oh damn, that was in the that church, the last church. That guy, the priest. He called him that. Ah, I remembered now. I remembered. Okay. Apocalyptus. Yeah, and I talked about the Emperor's nature a lot of times, so I'm not gonna do that again. But well, he was human in the matter. I mean, in the way that he had a lot of flaws and didn't actually became that wise for all the thousands of years that he was alive. Already talked about that as well. Still, guys, common sense, some wisdom. He had to have had that, and know that he screwed up a bit. And when he saw his son becoming, I mean, already um, in this state of complete possession, of chaos, he had to have known there's nothing else to do but kill the freaking Horus guy. He killed that son. I mean, he literally only showed any fatherly care for his sons when it come to actually almost nothing, the way that he speaks to them sometimes, but other than that, he ignored their training, didn't spend much time with them, just put them into missions to do the crusade. And well, yeah, that is, I mean, they were treated like weapons the whole time and tools. Yeah, I am not sure. I mean, I heard that argument many times about the Emperor and the love that he still has for his sons, maybe to some extent, but, and he says my son a lot of times, but that doesn't mean that he actually loves them. He did create them for exact purpose to execute his plan, and that plan failed from the beginning when they were scattered in the universe, actually, and everything went downhill from there. It's another topic on its own. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, some guys, yeah, I also seen that argument. Some people do say that he is less human in terms of how he acts. But at the same time, when you compare other world leaders in history, he is just very close to that, just painfully close to the distancing of a leader that all of a sudden it's too full of himself, and he thinks that his will is the will the like the godly will of the wills, and that's not exactly the case, and he forgets how to be human. In the same time, the other lack of, well, compassion, I mean, the other qualities that he's supposed to have are also very lacking. So pride takes over, and that's, I mean, only the people, let's say, that are not wise at all, that they don't have any actual wisdom, can allow pride to get in the way. Once you get pride to get in the way, you can make all of the technical decisions that you want, but they're going to be all wrong if they come from a place of pride and not actual objectivity and wisdom. And all of the decisions that were like chain reactions that the emperor did throughout his rule led to all of that happened with his sons, and his eventual Jesus, demise on the golden throne. Adapted ridiculous videos, I'm not sure, beta, they are so long. I mean, that's long too, but that's very informative, and theirs is just like commentaries for the most part. So I don't know what is there to break down, unless they said something that's, really insightful. If that's the case, you have to point me to a particular video, because they're just having streams and they're talking like they're somewhere in a coffee shop talking about Warhammer. That is what I've seen for the most part from them. So I don't know what you would want me to break down. Just have to let me know specifically. Autistic giant psyker. Uh, that's funny way of putting it. Hey Patrick, I do. He resorts to mind to overcome these emotions. I think that topic is just too long. uh, I mean, I spent on the Emperor so much time already, because it's very interesting. It's the most fascinating freaking character in the whole Warhammer in general for me. So I did spend a lot about comparing him to Chaos, how they act, how he acts, how they work, how he works. If you want to watch that, you just click on my playlist here. I don't want to, spend a lot more time on that. But there's definitely a lot of things to say. And even on the last church, my analysis on that, I also spent a ton of time when I reacted to the animation after that, breaking down his conversation with Uriah, and how interesting it is, how hypocritical it is from the Emperor, and how is the dynamic between both of them. That is just extremely fascinating. But yeah, I'm getting tired from talking that much. I have just a bit more time, so let's get through a few more powers, and that's gonna be it. So maybe I will do part two of this and continue with the rest of his powers, because they are, well, basically endless. Okay, let's see.
Which, for context, is like setting fire to someone's hologram and then the real person being completely incinerated to never return anyway.
Yeah.
Horus witnessed the use of this ability against the head orcs of the War of Ulanor on Goro, the strongest orc we had ever seen in any story, along with all of his strongest companions and allies. He describes it in the following way. "Now you die," said the Emperor, and ripped his blade up. It was an awful, agonizing mortal wound. Electrical fire vented from hideous metal organs within the wreckage of the greenskin's body. It was a murderous wound that not even a beast of such unimaginable proportions could take and live. Yet that was not the worst of it. Horus felt the build-up of colossal psychic energies and shielded his eyes as a furious light built within the Emperor. Power like nothing he had ever seen his father wield or even suspected he possessed. All-consuming, all-powerful, it was the power to extinguish life in every sphere of its existence. Physical flesh turned to ash before it, and what ancient faiths had once called a soul was burned out of existence, never to cohere again. Nothing would remain of he who suffered such a fate. Their body and soul would pass from the finite energy of the universe to fade into memory, and have all that they were wiped from the canvas of existence. This was as complete a death as it was possible to suffer. That power blazed along the Emperor's sword, filling the green skin with killing light. It erupted in a bellowing golden explosion, and lightning blazed from the coruscating afterimage of its death, arcing from orc to orc, as it sought out all those who were kin to the Master of Goro. Unimaginable energies poured from the Emperor, reaching throughout the entirety of the chamber and burning every last shred of alien flesh to a mist of drifting golden ash. Horus watched as the power of life and death coursed through the Emperor, saw him swell in stature until he was like unto a god, wreathed in placid amber flames, towering and majestic. His father never claimed to be a god, and refuted such notions with a vengeance. He had even castigated a son for believing what Horus now saw before him with his very own eyes.
Yeah.
Pretty intense. By the way, if you ever see someone saying the Emperor is weak because he struggled with an orc war boss one time, this is the scene they are talking about. And no, they have never read it. They just like pretending to have read it for some reason. Like every single orc, even remotely allied with this orc across the whole planet, who again is probably the strongest orc to have ever lived, were all killed in this way. They were all wiped from the planet entirely with one attack. Much later, after Horus had betrayed the Emperor and was not only far beyond his former power, but also bolstered by the might of all 4 Chaos Gods, would suffer a similar fate. Initially in their fight, the Emperor holds back, believing that his son Horus can be redeemed. But after the death of one of his servants, this happens.
Yeah, I mean, we know the story. I don't know how he could believe that his son could be redeemed. I already said why. Because he knows everything about the freaking chaos. He knows how they work. He knows that if Horus reached this point, he is irredeemable. But okay, he somehow believed, instead of relying on evidence and proof and knowledge gathered through millennia thus far, that his son's gonna be redeemed. Okay.
Mustering every iota of his concentration, he focused his psychic might into a bolt of pure force, more coherent than a laser, more destructive than an exploding sun. He hurled the bolt at Horus, a lance of power destined for the madman's heart. Horus sensed the upsurge of energy and turned to face the Emperor, his look of surprise turning to one of horror as he realized the strength of the attack and the doom it brought. The Emperor's psychic bolt struck the War Master. Horus screamed as destruction rained down on him. He twisted and writhed in titanic agony. He strove frantically to counter the Emperor's death blow, but his struggles became ever more feeble as the lethal energies played over him. Driven by all the force of his rage and pain and hatred, the Emperor willed Horus's death. He sensed the forces of chaos retreat, disengaging themselves from their pawn. As they did so, sanity returned to the War Master. The Emperor saw the realization of the atrocities he had committed flicker across Horus's face. Tears glistened there. Through the torrent of the Emperor's psychic assault, Horus hailed to pain and remorse. He painfully uttered his last words. "I have been a fool. I was so wrong. Everything is ruined. I have betrayed you, my father. I do not ask for forgiveness. End my torment. Kill me now. I am too weak to resist them.
Yes,
They call
good
to me.
morning.
Please end this." Horus was free, but the Emperor knew he himself was dying, and that the powers of chaos might once again possess the War Master, and that he would not be able to stop them a second time. It was too great a risk. Horus must die. Yet for a brief moment, looking into his old friend's face, he hesitated, unable to do the deed. Then the thought of the slaughter that still went on outside, that might go on forever, resolved, hardened within him. He forced all mercy and all compassion from his mind, emptied it of all knowledge of friendship, of camaraderie and love. His eyes locked with Horus and saw understanding there. Then, with full cold knowledge of what he was doing, the Emperor destroyed the War Master. It was later remarked that Horus was completely and utterly dead forever, beyond the abilities of even the gods to restore, and wiped from the warp entirely. This is as owned as it gets. You are dead. No second chances, no opportunity to resist. Do not pass a go, do not collect $200. I've unfriended you on Facebook and I spelled your name wrong on your tombstone.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Okay, I have to stop it here at the 17 minutes and 23 seconds, and we have 22 minutes and 50 seconds to go. So, okay, I mean, that's amazing. I love to, get to that story once again, because it's just very good how it's written. I love to get also to that book fully and read that, how all of that transpired, because I haven't yet. So, thank you so much, Jake Lyton, for the link. Thank you. Can't believe I did so many videos for a year. Yes, for a year, since I'm Warhammer fan now. And yeah, amazing words. Amazing words. I can't believe if the spores survive. How can they survive? They're just not making no sense. It is beautiful, yes. Yeah, he did, but like I've said, I just don't find it very logical. The whole thing, how the Emperor saw situations thinking that he can redeem Horus. Yeah. He just killed freaking Sanguinius, brutally murdered, and he loved his brother before that, and he did that. So how can he be redeemed? I mean, there's so many things that would suggest that Horus is not gonna be redeemed. Also, when he did all those things that he did in the beginning, when he started turning, he consciously did that. So it's not like, oh, I'm betraying my father. No, he was doing one betrayal after another after another. He was not possessed by chaos. He was doing that consciously. Consciously, he was doing that. He was manipulated, which Horus didn't think that is happening. He thought that the Emperor manipulated him all of this time. But believing that, he did all of the betrayals. So like all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I'm so wrong. I'm dying, and I'm so wrong. I betrayed you. I'm sorry. Well, I deserve to die. How did he realize all of that when he was consciously doing all of those things, agreeing to it, seeking vengeance that he was used? And I just don't see how that is logical, in any kind of a way. If you can justify how he all of a sudden realized that he screwed up throughout all of his time. Maybe he realized those things while the control of his body was taken by chaos. Maybe. But I have not seen that to be written somewhere or implied somewhere. If you have, let me know, of course. I just genuinely want some kind of explanation that would make sense cohesively, uh, knowing what was written, established before all of that takes place, that fight. Reading your last comments. Yeah, I know Abaddon, but they agreed to take him unconscious to wishes, and he got deceived while already infected by chaos. Yeah, I know, but the point is he did a lot of choices before that happened. That's my point. He did a lot of betraying before that actually happened. He believed chaos. He believed their deception. He believed that his father is this, monopolist, basically, with his statue in the future and his plans, and he just rendered everything that he knows this far about his father, just rendered it totally unfair and justified and ridiculously egotistical. I mean, it is egotistical. totally is. That is one thing. I mean, if you know how evil works, the way that it's written here, it's very good because you see how evil actually works, and that is through half truths. I mean, the deception, all of that is based on actual truth somewhere. Somewhere along the lines, there's some kind of a truth there. It is half truth. That's the thing. So they can get you with half truth. The rest of the rest of the way they can manipulate you because this half truth, and that's enough for you to get on the horse and continue on that path. Basically, well, it's enough if you don't actually know how they work. But if you do know, you're gonna spot their deception from a mile away. He didn't, so so there's that. That's kind of fault of the emperor because he did not prepare his primarchs for the workings of chaos. They were all taken off guard in some way, shape, or form throughout their crusades and just lives of how chaos actually works and could work. Uh, all of them, I mean, all of the gods have some kind of a ways of manipulation. Some are more direct than others, all of those things. But the point is, the emperor never actually uh, created a course for his primarchs, being like, look at how they can manipulate you. Look at how they can tell this and that about me. They can change your perception about the world. They can say that the warp's not actually evil. It's pretty awesome. It's just chilling in there. Just you know, he never he never actually put his foot forward to be more active in that kind of a way. And if you know anything about evil, you know that it never sleeps. It always acts. It always does something. It always has a plan, and it always just like doing this. While if you're like, I'm gonna sit here and hope that nothing's gonna do so. I mean, nothing's gonna happen. So yeah, not gonna take any precautions about anything. Not gonna try to learn anything about the enemy. Nah. I'm just gonna go, like, put my sons into these missions, this crusade. They're just gonna do my work for me. I'm just gonna sit here, create the way. It's just amazing plan for humanity, really. I'm just a genius, sitting here doing so many things about humanity. Oh my gosh. So yeah, my sons are gonna be just fine. They're very strong. I mean, they're not like me, obviously, but they have all kinds of abilities. They're so unique. Oh my gosh, they're gonna be so good. Oh, this is amazing. Oh boy, I want my drink now. I mean, that's kind of naive way, to approach things. Okay, gotta be done. Gotta be done. Thanks, dear Clayton. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, the big-headed. Yeah. Why they were big-headed? Ask yourself that. He's like Lucifer in some ways. Yeah, that too. I mean, basically, Horus did what he accused the Emperor of, a lot of ego, and thinking that he can take over the worlds, you know what I mean, the universe, and proclaim himself as an emperor. Horus did what he feared that the Emperor would do, or basically not would do. He was doing it. The point is, he became what he thought of the Emperor. That exact attitude and type of a leader that he feared that his father is or becoming or wants to be. Horus became that. So isn't that ironic? Isn't that? And yeah, Logar had well, he was very well, so to speak. I mean, in a good direction in terms of his discoveries about his father. I mean, thinking that he's an actual god because the emperor showed that he is a god while saying that he's not a god, and that's just so funny. Making all those power. How is the word for that? Like. Representations, manifestations of power, the way that even he appeared to Uriah when he was young soldier, the way that he obliterated the orcs. I mean, there's a lot of other examples where when the emperor is a god, basically, I mean, he shows himself to have such power that to any living person, primarch or not, would and could, I mean, be interpreted as godly power. and then being like to his son Logar, "My son, you are so ridiculous. I'm not a god. I'm so not a god. Why would you think that I'm a god? Why? Why, my son? Why do you have to be such a bad... Ugh! I'm disgusted. Disgusted by you and your Astartes Legion. Puh! Puh! Horrible, son. Horrible." Okay. I'm making myself laugh. I have such an ego. Okay, guys. There's so many topics that I wanted to talk about in general, and the comparison that I still want to do, comparison between Warhammer and esoteric science, and what is the similarities between them, because there's so many, and there's so many differences, but also so many, so many. Okay, yeah. Why I'm doing this, I don't know. There's so many topics that I'm so passionate about. I want to talk about them, but we do have to do a second part of this, so maybe change the title to part one, because yeah, we need part two. We need it. So yeah. Thanks, dear Clayton. Ah, I glow, flaming sword. All this power. I don't know, Dark. I just, when I love something that I love, and it's just, how to say that, it's my topic. I love to think about things and to bring stuff out of them that maybe you cannot see, maybe you can, but it's very fascinating to talk about those things when they are fascinating, because they do have layers, and I just love to extract that and express it. So that's what I can say. I mean, I literally could bring a sword on the stream, my Xena sword, because it's big, but yeah, I cannot make it glow unless it's in a video in post-production. But that's kind of like a cool idea, just like a GIF, like me bringing a sword and it's like flaming. I can do that with special effects. I can do that. That's gonna be fun. So yeah, here's an idea. Here's an idea, guys. Oh, by the way, last thing, and by the way, yeah, I mean the other. By the way, I am the Empress, so so there's that. My special powers are my manifestation of the Emperor, Empress. It just, yeah. I don't know what to tell you guys. I'm a lot of things. That's also another topic. Okay, the other thing that I want to say before I forget, I want to do top 10 worst primarchs. Worst. So if you like, you can leave me on the community tab. On the community tab, you can just write a comment. The 10 primarchs from the best to worst. I'm actually gonna make a post right now after the stream before I go to bed, but I really have to go to bed because it's midnight and 9 minutes. So I'm gonna make a post, top 10 worst primarchs. So just write all the 19 primarchs in the opposite way. So first the best, and number one should be the worst. Number one should be the worst, and I'm gonna make a video about that. See how many votes the different primarchs have, and see who you picked to be the worst primarch ever. So that's gonna be awesome, guys. I hope so. That's gonna be an interesting video stream to watch. So thank you so much for watching. See you tomorrow with part 2 of this, and when you get done with all the data of that top not top 10, top top 19, we're going to do. That's gonna be super fun, I think. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Hope you enjoy. Till next time with me, get your reviews, sleep well, all those things. If you like to support me, you know where, links down below. And till soon, guys. Bye bye.